The concern over currency wars translates into a concern for a country like Israel that the exchange rate not appreciate excessively. That's our problem, that's Brazil's problem, that's the problem of many countries in Asia, in Latin America, in Europe. Among the countries that suffered most from an appreciated exchange rate in this crisis has been Switzerland. Why? Because Switzerland sits in the middle of Europe. When there were concerns about the euro, every country around Switzerland, citizens wanted to send their money to a place which looked more promising, and there were massive inflows into the Swiss economy. For a very long time, at around 27, 28 billion, we started buying first slowly, and then we increased it to $100 million a day, and we are today, that number came out today, at $73 billion in reserves. Do we feel badly about it? No. At least I feel much more reassured, and I think recent events should explain why we feel more reassured about having these reserves. Inflation in Israel is above our target level of 2%, and because commodity prices and energy prices are rising, the markets expect these prices to rise. We raised the interest rate for February. It's now 2.25%. It had been only 0.5%. Between 2000 and 2009, German housing prices decreased slightly. Between 2000 and 2008, Israeli housing prices looked like German housing prices. That's the blue line is Israel.
I would like to begin by emphasizing that we have a very strong, solid economy, which is impressively strong and solid. But if you don't believe that we have this type of economy, think about the shocks that we have experienced, at least since I have arrived. And I don't see something causal related between my arrival and the events. There's something between the events. There is the sad malady, disease, sickness of Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. There is the break between Hamas and the PLO. There is the war in Lebanon, the war in Gaza. There is the recession, the global recession. And throughout this entire period, the Israeli economy continued to grow, and during the recession was hardly hurt and certainly harmed much less than most other Western economies. We have an economy that can contend with difficulties. In 1960, it was 9% of the GDP, and then came the Six-Day War, and the defense budget reached 20% of the GDP. The Yom Kippur War brought it to more than 30% of the GDP. If you are spending 30% of your GDP on defense, you've got a problem in your economy. And throughout the years, we have managed to reduce the percentage of the GDP that the government has been spending on defense to 7.5%. There are further expenditures that increase this amount to about 9.5% of the GDP. So it is possible that this number may rise. If we manage ourselves properly, we can deal with that. So what do we need to do? We in the Bank of Israel need to maintain price stability, that is a low level of inflation. We need to maintain high levels of surpluses so that, if necessary, we will be able to bring what we need to bring to Israel. We need to maintain a strong banking system. And what about the government? The government needs to preserve the budget, to maintain the continuing decline of the ratio between the debt and the GDP, which is now at a relatively low level at less than 80%. This is not the time to start to play with the budget a month and a half after it was passed. We must not be confused as a result of the fact that the receipts of the government for 2010 were higher than the expectations. We don't have money to waste. We must preserve what we have, and we must behave responsibly. And this relates to the government, and there I would like to say that the Treasury has been behaving perfectly properly, and that the Minister of Finance is working hard to preserve the budgetary framework. And this relates to everyone in the political system,